It's true. Come on, go live. All right, there we go. Let me adjust the quality. Let me add some Wi-Fi. Mute. Yes, I told him for the review. Once the reviews go live, we'll bring him on. We'll do like a beta podcast. Just have him on for the whole thing. Oh, my phone is dinging. Should mute this. Yes, I actually really like the audio. Yeah, I forgot. Sorry.
Oh, the audio was out. They couldn't hear it anyway. Now they can. Actually, they might be able to hear you, just not me. All right, I am almost ready. Give me a sec. Oh, good. The voice recorder has crashed.
Wow, never seen that happen.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, let me log in. Switch accounts.
That doesn't sound right. I guess it is. Okay. All right, I'm ready to go when you are.
Okay, let me bring up the voice recorder, bring up the notes, and my RTX. All right, I am now recording.
I am now recording as well.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Windows Central Podcast, episode 193 for August 28th, 2020. Hey everyone, Daniel Rubino joined with Zach Bowden for another exciting episode of the Windows Central Podcast. This will be another Surface Duo heavy one, so I hope you're into Microsoft's new cutting-edge phone because we will be talking a lot about it. But there's also other news too, so we'll also talk about that, including 20H2 in the release channel, which I actually noticed. I think it was like last week. I was surprised that had happened. But that means the release is imminent. Of course, Zach will cover that. The latest with TikTok, the story that won't die. There was some movement this week with TikTok, and it's still looking promising that Microsoft will be at least one of the major players. But there's been a late entry to confuse the situation even more, which is kind of weird. We'll also talk about the new Xbox dashboard because looking at my watch, by the way, nice marathon watch. Still into these things. Marathon's an official military watch. It's really awesome. Anyway, checking my watch, it's been about 6 months since the Xbox team has decided to completely redo the Xbox dashboard. And so we're going to talk about that, what's actually changed. I'm not sure it's really a complete redesign. I actually have been liking the direction they've been going in, but it is funny compared to Windows 10, how often Xbox changes. But in defense, you don't have a bunch of old people and enterprise users using Xbox. And that's the reason why Windows 10 doesn't change. Xbox are young kids and some old people like me who are kind of okay with, that kind of whole thing. Anyway, I guess, Zach, how are you doing on this fine Friday? Is it still hot?
No, it's not anymore. It's actually quite cold. We don't have a nice. There's no in between over here. It's either it's too hot, it's too cold. There's just no nice middle ground. This week I've been feeling pretty envious, and I think you know why.
Yeah, so we knew, as always, review units were headed out this week, and this was the first time. I mean, I'm always excited when I get the notification from Microsoft, review units coming, because I generally like the Surface devices, even though they're not like perfect and, they lack Thunderbolt 3. I've always said like Surface laptop is basically the perfect laptop in terms of ergonomics and design and execution. But this device, I was generally like, it's kind of Christmas time feeling. And it's because, as I mentioned a few times during the unboxing video, and you and I have talked about, we've been talking about a Surface phone, and I put in quotes, of course, for 7 years. That's when the rumors started first coming out about Microsoft maybe doing a phone. Now, it has changed radically since then. I mean, back then, the rumor was a single screen device, possibly running an Intel processor.
Yeah.
running x86 applications, and it was all over the place. It was going to be a metal phone, and they were experimenting with things as they always do. But the stories now come out that around 2015, Panos had this idea. What if I took two screens together and slapped them together? And he started exploring what that would be, what the perfect size of it should be. And it's taken since 2015 to 2020 to get there. As I like to tell people, we play the long game here at Windows Central. We weren't wrong. We are here. We're finally with the Surface Phone. It's just changed completely in terms of design with now dual screens. It's changed the operating system running Android. It's changed even focus, as Zach will be talking about. I don't think on this podcast, but he has a major story that will be coming out maybe next week, Zach, 2 weeks.
I want to wait for the Duo to sort of come out first before I start talking.
Got it. Okay, so Zach has a little bit more of the story of Duo and how it got there, which is really interesting. Some of the bits he's already come across. But let's just say the Duo today is a very different incarnation. And we kind of knew that. The initial rumors were that it was going to be running like Windows Core OS and then like kind of a Windows 10X kind of thing.
Yeah, essentially, to not overhype it too much, what I'm working on is a story that sort of details the Windows time frame of development for the device. Because remember, when Duo was first entered development, it was codenamed Andromeda, and it was going to be this Windows Core OS built thing, which was with a brand new user interface and a new beginning for Windows on phones, which obviously never happened. The Duo's out now and it has Android on it. But there was a lot of interesting things that happened internally to that operating system that I think just fans are interested in knowing about. Because if you've known about the Duo or the dual screen foldable phone that Microsoft has been working on for as long as we have, then you've been following this journey for about 4 years. And, for most of that, we thought it was going to be a Windows device. And I think a lot of us are quite interested in what was that going to be like. So that's sort of the article I'm working on, that experience that they were building out internally.
Which I think is going to trigger some of our audience.
I don't want anyone to be like, they should have released this, because Microsoft is very proud of the work they're putting into Android and Surface Duo. It's not like a compromise. It's like this makes the most sense for the customer. That's why they've done it. They would have gone with Windows all day long. Like, it's not like, we hate Windows fans. We want to go to Android just to annoy them some more. It wasn't. It was a hard choice internally. They'd spent years working on this version of Windows, and it just wasn't happening. It just was not going to be able to deliver the things that Microsoft wanted to deliver with that product. And that's all because of apps, really. Apps was a big part of it. Also, I think stability was a huge deal internally as well. So they moved to Android, and they did that for you, for the consumer.
There's something to be said about the difficulty in creating a new operating system in the year, this was 2017, 18, but in 2020 even, or bringing one to market. It's very cost and labor intensive, and the chances of it succeeding is very low because we're all kind of locked in our ecosystems, but also argue that those ecosystems are sort of fading to the background as services and web apps and all this stuff is becoming really the prevalent sort of driving factor. But look forward to Zach's story in the coming weeks. It's very interesting. I've already seen some of it, and it's like it's really cool stuff. And of course, we'll talk about it on the podcast. But let's now. Oh, and before we get started, yes, I am rocking, for those watching us live, I am rocking the dark gray. They're not really black. They're dark gray Surface earbuds, which was sent along this week. These come out September 10th. We're still finding out the markets. I don't know if it's all the markets or what. We'll figure that out. But a lot of people are wondering, do these look better? And I think they do, right? Or at least, I don't want to say better. They're definitely lower profile, right? You don't notice them as much because they're not white. They're also kind of glossy and pick up fingerprints a little bit more because you can see it because it's darker. So there's that. It's still the same material. Although Zach's very fixated on this, which I'll highlight too. This is the case, and it's matte. It's matte.
But why did they change it? I have to know.
Right. So Zach wants to know because the white one is glossy. And my hypothesis on this, and I think it's probably pretty true, it's either a production thing, but it's more likely because it's dark. were this to be glossy, it would show scratches and scuffs much easier because you would scratch the gloss and be kind of matte underneath and we get a contrasting appearance. Whereas I think when it's matte, you don't have that effect as much. But who honestly knows? But yes, you get a great case, you get a great cable. It's all very nice. I'm still a fan of Surface earbuds. I almost feel bad a little bit in my review, although I still think, the criticisms are valid. They don't like stop and play the music when you pull them out of your ears. There's no wireless charging with the case. Like these are, drawbacks. That said, they are so ridiculously comfortable. I don't wear them on this podcast because it's like, oh, they're Microsoft, I have to wear them. Actually, I wear them because they're kind of the only buds I have. But they're genuinely just super comfortable to wear. Like, I don't know, I really like them. So we'll have a little bit more of that as these come out. But if you like them, there you go, just sporting them. You can pick yourself up them this color variant September 10th. But let's talk about the star of the show here. Here it is. Surface Duo.
Don't drop it.
I know, right? I mean, I'm a little paranoid about dropping it, but it's very grippable. Like I haven't really had any like close instances of it. Now, as you may have noticed from the unboxing video, I can't show you the operating system in action or even really talk about it. That's not a conspiracy. I've seen a lot of people like, oh, why is Microsoft doing this? And let me tell you a little bit about how Microsoft has done reviews in the past. I mean, every time a new Surface device has come out, they've announced it, and it's usually about 4 to 5 weeks later it comes out. Usually about a week before it comes out, we get sent the device, and we're given a hard deadline for the embargo where they can go live, which is almost always universally the day it becomes available. Up until that point, we're usually radio silence. I can't even talk about the fact I have the device. This time they sent it out comparatively early. This doesn't come out till September 10th. And I'm allowed to show you the hardware, the unboxing, and kind of give you impressions of that stuff. But they're still holding to the embargo date, which I believe, September 10th. I think everybody knows that now. Mary Jo Foley, by the way, said it on Twitter, so I'm not outing that date. But that's when the reviews go live, right? And so that's not unusual for Microsoft. That's how they've done it. What's unusual now is the fact I could talk about it, at least the hardware aspect. I will also say, with the OS, it is a work in progress. There are app updates and out-of-box experiences. This device is technically months ahead of schedule, if it's one way of looking at it. I mean, they did announce this for holiday 2020, and here we are in September. So I think the journey of the software is actually going to be the most interesting story about Duo for the next year. Basically, what features they bring online, what bugs they fix, does it get Android security updates routinely? Is it more like how Windows 10, even Windows 10 Mobile, how we would get updates every month and it would give you a changelog? Like, is that going to be the model for this? I also think, and Microsoft hasn't told us why, but I also think they don't want us talking about the OS because they want us to use the device and get used to it. And I'm going to say this without talking about the OS experience itself, the phone, the hardware. This is the most radical change in form factor and mobile experience I have ever had. And I've been doing this for over a decade now. It's really weird. And I mean weird in a good sense, not in a negative, pejorative kind of connotation. I mean in the sense that it is jarring when you switch from a phone, single screen phone that's thin and narrow, like the Note 20 Plus, which I have here, the Note 20 Ultra. It's super tall and it's really thin, and you can hold it with one hand, which is great. But it's such a radically different experience from that it does take a few days to get acclimated. And I also feel for those who are like, if you're a real baller, you're like, I'm going to pick this up as a secondary device. I think you may have, I don't know. I don't recommend that. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I really do believe like you need to sort of switch to this hardware full time and to kind of really get used to it, because it's so different from what we know that if you're only picking it up on occasion, it's always going to feel foreign to you. But the more you hold it, the more you carry it around with you, the more you use it, the more it grows on you. And it is growing on me.
I've seen a few people online saying, yeah, I'm going to buy one as a tablet. And I don't recommend that because although it is 8.1 inches of total screen real estate, it is only 5.6 inches of screen at any given time. And not many apps will support the spanning capability unless you enjoy having a big divider down the middle of all of your apps.
Clarify that. All apps can span, but not all apps are actually taking advantage of what that means. So in other words, you can see it full screen, but you're going to have that, as Zach said, this seam down the middle.
It acts much better as a phone because of the fact that the two screens are 5.6 inches. If the two screens were 9 inches, such as Surface Neo, then absolutely you could buy you could buy it as a tablet. That's what it's all about, the screen sizes, because the Surface Neo is a 9-inch device that folds out into a 13-inch screen real estate. Whereas the Surface Duo is only 5.6 inches. 5.6 inches isn't tablet size at all, even in the aspect ratio that Surface Duo is. It is a unique aspect ratio. It's much wider and not as tall, which is great for typing in single screen mode. But it is, as a tablet, I do not think it would be a good tablet. It's a good phone, ? Maybe, but good tablet, probably not.
Right. It's there's nothing to compare it to. Like, it's really bizarre. And you know, in the video, and I posted some photos about, and I've been talking about this since last October because I was one of the few in the media that actually got to handle the hardware last October, about how thin this is. It is slightly thicker than a standard iPhone 11 closed, right? I should also point out, if you want to see a live demo here's an iPhone 11 compared to Surface Duo. You can see the iPhone 11 is taller. Obviously, Duo is wider. But they're not radically different in terms of size. And this was such a crucial thing for the Surface team. Panos set early on basically the perfect constraints for design, including that 4.8 millimeters. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast. It's 4.8, not 5.0. They could have made this 5.2, put a bigger battery in there, jammed in Qi. They could have done all that. But they really want to nail this, the actual form factor first. And it's a work of, you know, as Dave Lee said, engineering marvel. It is unlike anything you've held and used before. And I should say starting today, Best Buy should have them on display. We already posted, I shared on Twitter what the kiosk looks like. They have a full stand kiosk, and you can go, and it's out on display. And you can go pick it up and kind of try it. You know, for all the people talk about its drawbacks, and they're legit. You know, like I said, if you absolutely need Qi or NFC or whatever this doesn't have, don't get this. That's fine. Just wait till they add it. But when you go and see this device in the store and pick it up, you're going to go like, oh, I kind of get what Dan's talking about here. This is not a phone with just two screens. They've done something kind of crazy here. And it's, you know, the hardware is just, to mention, it's glass on the outside. I thought everybody knew that, by the way. That hasn't changed, but it's always been that. It's not metal. This is Gorilla Glass on the outside. So both sides, Gorilla Glass. Of course, Gorilla Glass on the inside. Metal hinge. And of course, you got the actual hinges there, sorry. And then it's like a polycarbonate on the sides, which I imagine is also good for the antenna reception. Come over to the side here, volume rocker. You do have the power button, fingerprint reader, which I can talk about the hardware. Fingerprint reader is very good on this. Like, I don't have false reads. And I say that because I have a Z Flip. And if you heard me on this podcast, I've gushed about the Z Flip, how much I like it. I will say the Z Flip's fingerprint reader sucks. Like, it pisses me off, especially in time of COVID. I have to wear a mask. I'm in a supermarket, want to use my buyer card or whatever it is. My fingerprint reader fails on the Galaxy Z Flip like all the time, and I have to do the stupid passcode thing. So this has been a very good fingerprint reader. And then below that, you do have the SIM card. That is a nano SIM. This does have eSIM as well. It is not dual SIM, meaning you can't use both at the same time. It's either or. And I'll also point out, if you get the AT&T model, you don't get eSIM because it's kind of like locked to their network or whatever like that. So if you need eSIM for travel, or you want to use eSIM permanently and put in a nano SIM when you travel, get the unlocked model. But a couple other questions I know people have. The size, I'm holding it here. Hopefully you can kind of get an idea. Does it fit in pockets? Yeah, it has no problem fitting in pockets. I can fit it in my back pocket. I can fit it in my front pocket. And I'm wearing shorts right now because I'm home. I don't wear shorts in public. That's actually not true. I do. I mean, if I'm going to the supermarket, I'm not going to put pants on. But when I go out and styling, I wear pants. But it does fit in pants. I'm actually going to do a separate post, probably for Monday or something like that, just me putting it into different pant pockets. Uh, but it does fit. I mean, it's super thin. It is a little wide, obviously. I mean, you kind of notice it, but it's not, when you look at something like I said here's it compared to the Note 20 Ultra, right? Look at the size of the Note 20 Ultra. And now when you look at the, how tall it is versus how wide the Duo is, you can kind of see that, and I'm sorry, my hands are blocking. I don't want to drop these things. You can kind of see it kind of works itself out, right? It's not that radically different. So if you can carry around a Note 20 Ultra, you can carry around, and a Note 20 Ultra, I don't think is that big, but you'll be able to kind of carry this around too. It is kind of the perfect size. I'll also talk about the bezels because that's hardware. A lot of people hate the bezels, the way it looks, and I get it. We're in a world where the Note 20 Ultra is just no bezels, right? It also kind of stinks because of the stupid edge stuff that they do. I actually had to run an app, and Samsung actually makes an app that shuts off the edges for touch reception, because otherwise you get too many false errors. That's hilarious. I mean, that's talk about a bad design. But the bezels on here, I'm telling you, and some of you already get this. It's the same explainer on Surface Pro. The way you handle this device, it's so thin. You're always switching, what are called postures, whether it's in the compose mode, the open mode, you're flipping it around to phone mode. You're always doing that. The bezels absolutely give you a place to grip. And even then, you may accidentally hit the touch screen and get rid of the app you're using or hit a button or something like that. It's a usability thing. And I think they may thin out those bezels on the next version. I don't think you're going to go to edge to edge. I know visually that looks awesome, but unless they can come up with a software solution to sort of, because I'm telling you, when you're handling it, it's not big. You need a little bit of an edge to grab it when you're switching postures. That's how you open it up like a book and stuff like that. So it kind of exists for a reason. So I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Besides, what I'm saying is when you're using the device, you're not really thinking about the bezels, to be honest.
And I think you're exactly right about.
Let's talk about the pen. Surface Slim pen does not come with it. If you have one, you can use it. I'm not sure I'd recommend people go buy it right now, but maybe. I know a lot of people are talking about this. You can stick the pen to the Duo. This is not by design. All right. They didn't do this on purpose. This is, in fact, the bottom doesn't really stick. You can see I'm just kind of hitting it there. It's magnetic up here. What it's doing is there are magnets on the edge here for when you close the device. It locks the screen, turns the power off. It also kind of keeps it from flopping open, right? And it's called a Hall sensor monitor and all this kind of stuff. That's in the gyroscopes, all that. The magnets all play a part in that. Those magnets are not for the pen. So I know some people have said it is. Maybe there are accessories coming out. No, they're not. I'm telling you, Microsoft has stated this. It is true, and Zach maybe can speak to this. They have explored putting thicker magnets in there for the pen. They've also explored, I believe, wirelessly charging the Slim pen by doing that. That did not make it into this final model. I don't think it's a big deal because even if you do this, right, this ain't going to survive in your pocket. If it was really strong anyway, right? And you don't want it too strong anyway, because then they'll start to if your wallet is there, it can wipe the strips on them. It can screw up other things, right? But this wouldn't survive in a bag. This ain't going to survive in your purse. It's not going to survive in your pocket. It's okay if you're just going to put your device down. You just want someplace to put your pen. But I'd also argue the Slim pen, by its nature, is flat. It's not going to roll away anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I just want to set the record straight on that. Other than that, it feels very durable. It's you can see just again how thin it is. It is interesting. It does sort of it's closer here into here. There's almost a slight arc, which I imagine is for the for keeping the display and all that kind of stuff. It does make a beautiful. See, I don't know. I have my RTX on. You probably can't hear it, but when you close it, it's very gentle. It's exactly like Surface Laptop when you close that. So that's about as much as I can talk about, I think.
Can I
Did
ask
you
you
have any
some?
questions, Zach?
Can I ask you some questions about it?
Oh man, oh my Surface headphones went out.
Yeah, I thought so because I did try to talk many times and Dad just wouldn't stop because he couldn't hear me. So we'll give him a second to get that audio back. um,
I can't hear you, Zach.
that's
So I have to
fine.
wait this.
Don't worry, I'm just gonna talk for a bit. So I did, as I was going to interject, the first time I tried to interject when he was talking about the bezels, I was going to mention that I have actually heard that what he's saying is correct internally, that the bezels are partly there because to handle the device, you need the bezels, otherwise you're going to be touching the screen the whole time. And that's not, especially if you're trying to use both screens with one hand, you definitely need that bezel, that bottom bezel to sort of place your thumb on. And so much so with Duo 2, the bezels will probably still be there. I'm hearing that they're going to be slightly thinned out, but it's not, as Dan mentioned, it won't be edge to edge. It will be definitely top and bottom bezels are still going to be there. They'll just be a little bit thinner, similar to how Microsoft went from Surface Go 1 to Surface Go 2. The bezel transformation on that wasn't drastic, but it was, there was a size reduction in the bezels, which I do believe means Duo 2 has a slightly bigger display, ever so slightly. Can you hear me now?
I kind of can, but somewhere I have the old podcast playing. I don't know where it's coming from.
That's ridiculous. Are you
like, it's so bizarre. I'm hearing last week's episode, but I don't know why.
Is it on your browser? In YouTube? Well, I did have some questions for you, Dan, when you figure out your technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know where this audio is coming from. This is so bizarre.
Well, figure it out.
I'm trying to.
There's nothing I can do. So as somebody who hasn't had a chance to play with the Duo, I'm extremely jealous and upset that Microsoft didn't send me one, by the way. But it's fine. I'm excited for this hardware because it is, again, something we've been waiting for such a long time. It is a unique take on being on the phone form factor. And although it has a lot of missing stuff, I think I can live without it. And I think most people can, right? A lot of other flagship companies are starting to realize that, hang on a minute, we don't need to be putting the latest stuff in our phones. Google's finally realizing this with the Pixel 5. The Pixel 5 is going to be, although that's Google's flagship, it'll be launching a sort of mid-tier Snapdragon 765 G with, I think, 8 gigs of RAM. And it's not top of the end anymore. It's going to be, I think, a plastic shell maybe. It is not a top of the end device.
I did it.
Yay! Same with. Sorry.
I still have no idea what it was, but that's okay.
Same with LG. LG's flagships are no longer using the latest Snapdragons and stuff, or at least the top end Snapdragons rather. And these phones are coming down in price a bit in some areas, at least. The Duo, of course, is incredibly expensive, and I admit it is a Gen 1 product, missing too many things for the price. Most people won't buy it, that's totally fine. But if you're somebody who's all in on this idea, I think the Duo one's going to be something you really enjoy from a hardware perspective, because it is so different. It looks amazing. Well, let's be honest, the Duo is the best looking foldable so far. If you disagree, you're wrong. I know looks are subjective, but when it comes to this, I'm pretty sure it is objective. This thing is the prettiest looking foldable right now. That includes the Galaxy Z Fold 2, which I still think uses a compromised design because of the fact it's using a single screen foldable. You have to have this stupid sort of like hinge thing back here, so the screen can fold. It is dumb. The Duo doesn't have that problem. It is unified. It is seamless. It is minimalist. It looks great on a table. I think it's amazing. Are you ready to answer some questions now? He's still not ready to answer some questions.
It's still playing.
That's ridiculous.
I don't know where it's coming from. I've closed like everything.
Can you open Taskman and figure it out, Taskman?
God, it's just like, I think it's something with voice recorder, I think is your voice recorder recording still?
Yes. All right, let's stop the voice recorder, and then we will start.
I deleted all the old files, and it seems to have fixed it. I think we're good.
Okay.
Wow, that
was ridiculous.
That's a weird bug, man.
Yeah.
All right, Microsoft. And your voice recorder crashed.
Yeah, just this morning, before we started. Since you couldn't hear me when I was just briefly explaining it, regarding your explanation about the bezels being there basically for holdability reasons. Is that a word, holdability? I guess it is now. On Duo 2, the bezels I'm hearing will still be there. They will be slightly thinner, but they're not going away. Similar to what they did with the Go 1 and Go 2. The Go 1 had super big bezels. Go 2 still has bezels, but they're a little bit thinner. Because on the Go 2 they increased the size of the screen a little bit, and I believe they're going to do the same on the Duo 2. They'll increase the screen size ever so slightly, just to thin out the bezels a little bit more. So I'm trying to think of what questions I can ask you without actually going into the software. Can I ask about battery life? Because I guess that's not really software related, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I can talk about that. I'm going to say it's been better. Everything about the hardware and the experience and how everything works has been sort of better than I had thought.
Okay.
And the battery has not been surprisingly. I don't know. I need more testing, obviously, with it. I got to start using it in the real world a little bit, but it's not atrocious. I don't know. The Note 20 Ultra's battery was like, if you leave the 120 hertz on, it's actually pretty good. I mean, you're getting on the Note 20 like 5 to 6 hours of on-screen time, but it was still for some people. And I've said in the review that if you use a Note 20 Ultra like consistently and all the time throughout the day, take a lot of photos, just really using it, you'll kill it within a day easily by evening. Because once you start using it, that processor, that display, the 120 hertz, the camera, all that like really does suck up juice. But if you're only using it like playing out of your pocket, checking a couple things, and kind of like how normal people I would say use it, it's good battery life. I kind of feel like that's probably going to be the same here with the Duo. So,
does it fit in a trouser leg strap?
Yeah. So Zach's been joking because I have this like awesome. This is a belt holder thing. It actually fits. It's got a little Velcro, and the Duo actually fits in this perfectly. And then what I just dropped. And the Duo fits in there, and so I got the leg strap for it, so I can strap it to my leg like Han Solo. It just came in, so I'm very excited about that. I don't expect other people to wear it like that. You don't need to. I mean, it does fit in the pant pockets. It's just a fun alternative thing. Actually, when I go hiking, and I do a lot of things in out in the wild a lot of times, this will be, I think, a really cool solution instead of pulling out of your pocket and stuff like that. So.
Is the ringtone, the default ringtone, the same one that they used to reveal the Duo back in October last year?
Yeah, I believe it is.
That's cool. At least they kept that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think more hardware related questions. Does it get warm or hot?
It can.
Can it?
It can, but it doesn't normally.
Which side does it get warm on, the left or the right side?
Right side.
Right side. So technically the back, I guess. Yeah, it makes sense, right? I guess the CPU, the processor would be back there. All the questions I have are like kind of tie themselves to software, so I really can't ask them. Yeah,
I mean, the software is what drives the experience. Right? So there are a lot of questions around that. But yeah, I can't talk about it. People will be able to test someone's writing. People will be able to test the software, the Duo Best Buy starting right today. If that's the case, I would have preferred to see professional reviews on YouTube. It's a bit weird, don't you think? I don't, because
it's a good thing.
Okay, go test it at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Go test it at Best Buy, play around with it. That's not going to give you the actual complete experience. You'll have an idea. You'll be able to see sort of what Panos was talking about and try it yourself.
Yeah.
But remember, not everything is finalized. There will be updates on day one and all this kind of stuff. But in order to review it, to give an opinion, I feel like if you just gave this phone to someone or this device and be like, for 10 minutes, and this is what would have happened. A lot of people would have like put up videos and done mini reviews. For some people, it's such a jarring experience, they may not have liked it. It's just like, I don't know what else. It's kind of like when so I told this story before. I bought the Tesla online, and I never even test drove it. Like, I never even been in one. I mean, I've been in the one of the models, not the model I was buying. But I never driven a Tesla. I had no idea about electric cars. I literally just went online and bought it. Then I went, picked it up, and the first time I drove it home was the first time I was driving it. I had no idea what to expect. The first time I drove it, I was like, I don't know if I like this. It feels weird. It's like driving a golf cart almost. It's the way the car responds, the way the gas pedal works, the way it brakes, all that is radically different from a combustion car. But now that I've been after a couple of days of using it, like I prefer it, right?
Yeah.
It's like now going back to a regular car would be weird. And I feel like in order to really, Microsoft wants people to really judge this device. They want people to use it for a few days, hopefully put their main SIM in it. I have on day one. This is my main phone. And they want people to live in it for a while, get used to it, try it out. There's also going to be app updates there. I mean, that's not a secret. Microsoft updates its Android apps all the time. Like every 2-3 days, there are updates coming out. And those are going to be sort of last minute patches and improvements and all that kind of stuff. And so it's going to be improving. Yeah. I don't think going to like Best Buy and picking it up for 2 seconds, you'll get an idea of the hardware. You'll be able to see the OS in action, but that's not living in it. And I'm telling you, like, to live in this device, the longer you use it, the more it grows on you. I have an idea already how I'm going to write this review. It's going to be a tough review, though, because it's such, like I said, people have in their head, it's a phone, oh, it's a tablet. It's not. It really is a new category of device and experience. It's more like a handheld computer. It's more like what you saw in Westworld, honestly. And like when you saw them using that tri-tablet on Westworld, you weren't like, oh, that's a weird phone. I mean, it was a phone she made calls on. They would make calls on it, but that wasn't its primary usage, right? And it made everybody think, oh, that's kind of neat. Well, this is more like that. And so I know people are thinking, some people already like, try using it with one hand. It's like, it's not. It's a two-hand device. There's no argument there. That's not a completely bad thing. I would argue sometimes the Note 20 is a two-hand device too, the bigger they get. I mean, I'll never forgive Apple for years having a tiny phone and all the Apple fans like, you have to be able to reach your thumb across to the corner of the display. It's a perfect size for use with one-handed. And they did videos on this and editorials about how perfect Apple was. And the rest of the world was like, make your screens bigger, and make your bezels thinner. And then what did Apple do? They finally did that. Now they have like giant phones, right? The iPhone 11 Pro was too big for me, or the Max. That was too big for me. I just went with the straight up iPhone 11. But yeah, so
real quick before we move on from the whole software sort of thing, a lot of people are saying like it is weird though that Microsoft doesn't want reviewers talking about it yet. It's not about Microsoft wanting or not wanting reviewers to do anything. It's about Microsoft, I guess, almost forcing reviewers to spend time with it because, like as Dan said, it would be easy to come out 3 days after getting the device and say it doesn't work. Because they haven't found their flow. It will take time. Right. It is as Dan said, it is sort of radical. It's a new sort of form factor. It is a jarring experience at first. It takes time to figure out how this works for you, how the dual screen experience lights up, as Panos Panay would say. And you won't be able to figure that out in the first few days. You can go and try out on Best Buy. It's not that that the software is god awful that they don't want anyone looking at it. You can go and check them out and Best Buy yourself. Is that they don't want reviewers going out there and saying there's no reason for this device exists because they've spent 45 minutes with it and that's their only experience, right? That they put 45 minutes. Oh, someone messaged me on iMessage. I'm back on my iPhone. They want people to actually sit down and try to use this device for the 2-week period between now and when it launches. But yeah, you can absolutely go to Best Buy. You can talk to Microsoft Store online. They will show you the device. They will show you the software because they're not reviewing it. They're just giving you examples of how it works. If a reviewer trying to show off the software now will be like, it doesn't really, they're not going to be. They're not going to be able to talk about how it works, how it makes sense, because they haven't used it for long enough. That's why Microsoft isn't giving anyone the chance to talk about the software yet, and why they will in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think the hardware is an easy sell, like in the sense that, like, if you saw almost all the unboxings of people getting it, like I've said, I got to handle it in October. I was already been blown away by it and been trying to convey that. A lot of reviewers, this was their first time, and most people who got this and playing around with it were generally like, "Whoa, this hardware is really crazy." That's the easy sell, though. I feel like that's why I keep telling people, just go to Best Buy, try it yourself. You'll get that same experience. But I do feel like the software and the actual dual screen experience is something that you do need to live in and try to get used to, because it is different. I mean, it's not that different than on a PC if all of a sudden you went from a single screen to a triple screen setup. Like, I mean, I'd actually argue that's kind of almost easier, but you get used to it. But it is weird when you start using it. It's even weirder though if you use a triple screen. I've been through this. Use a triple screen setup for 98% of your work, and then you travel and you go to like a 13 or 14-inch laptop. Like to me, that's just like, what is this? I'm like flipping. I can't work like this. Like I honestly felt like I couldn't work on a laptop anymore. Now I'm back to a single screen desktop experience, and it's easier for me now to go to a laptop. But that was a thing.
And obviously, I don't know. I've not had the device. We don't know if the software is going to be buggy. It is Microsoft's first Android device. It is likely there will be some teething issues at first. You know, Microsoft has never released an Android phone before. I would assume that there will be some bugs. It would be a miracle if this device launches without bugs, because Microsoft has been building Windows for 25, 35 years. And that has bugs today. So
Right.
I'm almost certain this device is going to have some bugs at first. But that's the beauty of a device that gets constantly updated, as the Duo is. Any issues that may show up at launch or be there at launch will be resolved down the line. This is a device that Microsoft says they're supporting for 3 years. It's not like they're going to, ship it and then leave and then forget about it forever. This thing will improve all the time. It'll get new features. It'll get new changes. It's going to be a great experience for those buying into this, I think.
I mean, and to give perspective, like the comparison to this to a Pixel 4, iPhone 11 or 12,
all of which are buggy at launch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I get that. It's fair. I mean, if you're going to Best Buy or AT&T and you're looking at your choices, that's a legit comparison to make. But I'll also say, I've been pretty harsh on Samsung's devices. I've said repeatedly, and I'll keep saying this, for me, they didn't make a good Android phone until the S6 Edge.
That's true.
That's when, for me, it finally clicked over. Like, this hardware is really nice. Their cameras are getting really good. I still had issues with their software, but it kept getting better. Every release got better. Even when they did One UI, Zach, me, and Jez, we were talking about this all endlessly. One UI was super hyped up. I got the Note 9. I did not like One UI. I did not. I was like, this isn't that great. One UI 2.0 got way better. I had that on the Z Flip, was using it. I was like, oh, I can actually use this. 2.5 gets even better. It goes to show you, Samsung didn't, figure this out for a while. I'll also say the Note 20 and the 20 Ultra have kind of really found their stride. But the first Note, I just checked, came out in 2011. Like, companies take years before they get the hardware and software figured out. Because if you go back to like the S Pen and all this kind of stuff, like the S Pen couldn't do much. It's only on these last couple of releases where it's been able to become kind of useful. And so there is that perspective. And that's why I think for the next year, the story I want to focus on is that the software. What does Microsoft do with it? Does it not get frequent updates? Are they not fixing bugs? Are they not delivering new features? Because if that's the case, that's bad. But I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they, like I keep telling people, it's a journey. This isn't like they're done, right? This is literally the beginning of this. Yeah. And this is going to be a process for them to grow it out, add features, listen to customer feedback, what they want, and go from there. But and I think we should allow them to have that. That doesn't mean you need to fork down $1,400 and, settle for that. That's why I'm here, right? That's why Zach's going to get one. We'll do that for you. And then you can decide at whatever point whether it is for you, the bugs are, been worked out, or you got a feature that it needs, or version 2 comes out and has the things you need. Like, that's when you decide. So I don't know.
So I have a couple more questions regarding the hardware for you. How are the haptics?
Yes. Yeah, this is a Zach question, but it's a good one because he loves the Pixel haptics.
Yes.
And it's been a while since I've used a Pixel. I've had the...
they're about the same as the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra you've got there. Samsung really caught up with haptics, so I'm happy about that.
I'm going to say the haptics are good.
Yes.
I'm really happy with the way it vibrates and feels. When I'm typing, it's... Because part of it's because it's thin. The engine doesn't need to shake as much mass, right? You can feel it through the chassis. But as you're typing, you do feel the engine when it vibrates in your pocket. Like, you feel it, notifications you feel, and all this kind of stuff. So the haptic engine is pretty good.
Nice. D brand skins. Does it? How are the D brand skins?
Yes, I posted up on Instagram and Twitter yesterday, and I just did a bunch of photos of the D brand skins. I will say the D brand skins, one, the colors look awesome. It really does. I posted up the sky blue or something like that, and people were like, "Oh, I'm getting Lumia vibes." I mean, they're really nice skins. They're easy to apply, too, which was really cool. And they're also easy to remove because it's a glass device. They kind of just like they stay on, no problem, but they can also nicely peel off. And I mean, you can like stick it back on later if you wanted to, kind of thing. They are fitted to go with the bumper. If you notice, I don't have the bumper on right now. I haven't put it on yet because the bumper, technically, once you put on, you're not supposed to remove it because it's held on by like 3M tape. You could redo it yourself later, but I'm sure it would be a pain. I'm experimenting with different. I'm also getting the Zag cover to put on this. Of course, the D brand skins, stuff like that. So when I'm done testing that, I'll put the bumper on. But so they come off nicely. There is a concern because they're not thick. I mean, the D brand skins are quality, right? They're by that I mean they're not like super thin, and that's one reason why they're actually easy to apply. But the Duo is so thin, and there's so little room to work with. So when I flip it, this is in phone mode, right? You can see there's no gap there. It is 1-to-1. This isn't like Surface Book, right? Where you have like a raised space by the hinge and then a gap and it closes down there. It is completely flush. So if you put a skin on, and I think also for the Zag, that's what I'm really, because the Zag goes on both sides. You don't have to put on both sides, but it actually has a glass protector that goes on the outside. But if you put something in between there, it does cause the device to sort of, and it's going to be kind of hard for you to see. I'm being dramatic here, but it's going to kind of make it do that. And Microsoft, I hear, is concerned because when you switch to this mode, you're going to be tempted to do that, press down, and that may stress the hinge. It's not going to break instantly. It's not like that. It's just long term, 6 months, a year from now, of constantly doing that. I think they're a little bit concerned, but it goes to show you just how tightly precise they did the engineering on this thing. There's no space in between. It's kind of crazy. So the D brands, I would say, luckily, 90% of the time, I'm just using this like this, opening it up and closing it kind of thing. But be careful with the D brands, I would say. And if you only put it on one side or something like that, it's not bad either, right? Obviously, it makes it almost solves the problem. But yeah, it's good.
Is it slippery?
Because
there's no camera bump on the back, so there's nothing to really for it to grip on.
It kind of is because it's so thin.
Yeah.
Like it's, there's that. It's also got sort of hard edges on it. Like this, like your hand perfectly kind of grips it, right? I actually would say, like something like the Note 20 is slipperier because of how narrow it is and it's all kind of glass and stuff like that. I don't find this slippery, but I will say putting a D brand on, especially the what do they call it? It's the black one with the pattern on there. The Swarm skin, which is very popular. That actually adds like really nice sort of like extra grip to it. Of course, I haven't put on the bumper as I mentioned, and I imagine the bumper will also give you a little bit of extra grip. That bumper also, to answer some questions. So as I mentioned, there's a SIM card slot here. The bumper actually has, no, I actually have the bumper here. Well, I don't want to pull it out, but the bumper actually has a little door that you put your nail in there, you just peel it out and you can access a SIM and you can put it back in. It has a fingerprint hole, all that. So once you put it on, you don't need to worry about having to take off the bumper. And D brand skins have it. You actually get 3 pieces. 2 are for the normal setup, and then there's a third piece for if you put a bumper on, it doesn't go below the bumper. It goes flush to the bumper, basically. So it doesn't make it even thicker, right? Because the bumper has a back grip kind of thing to hold on to, so it gives space for that, which is kind of cool. So.
All right, my last question, and then we can move on to other topics. What does it look like against your head when you're on the phone?
Yeah, sure. And someone's also asking, does it slip off your desk? No, I've had like normal phones because they round up so much. They have so much curved edges. Those have slide around. This one really hasn't. Um, Let me make sure I have the power off. Okay, power is off. There we go. That's it up to my ear. It's not crazy. If you use a Lumia 1520, this is not like the craziest thing I've used. It feels a little different because it is wide, but it's not like I don't think. I mean, I used a Mate 20X in public, which I don't have here in front of me. It's downstairs, but the Mate 20 is bigger than this phone. So I don't find it weird.
Fair enough. All right, I think is that everything Duo for now?
I think so.
Cool. Shall we move on to Windows news of the week then? Because this is the Windows Central podcast. 20H2 is now in the release preview ring, or release channel as they call it now, and that's only significant because that means the update's basically ready to go. Only updates that are ready to go enter the release channel, and 20H2 is now there, which suggests it will be coming very soon. I would guess September time, possibly Patch Tuesday, so in a couple of weeks' time. This is the update that has the sort of slightly updated live tile interface with the translucent effects, a slightly updated notification UI, and a couple other changes here and there. Just sort of cleans up the UI ever so slightly. It's a nice update, not a huge one if you're running any previous version of Windows really, but if you're on 2004, this will apply as a cumulative update, not a full build download, so it won't take too long to install, which is always nice. It also comes with the new Microsoft Edge pre-installed, so if you haven't installed that yet, this update will deliver that automatically for you. And it's pretty good. Slightly unrelated to this, the apps feature in your phone is now publicly available. So if you were looking forward to that and you have a supported Samsung Galaxy device, should be rolling out to you in the coming days. It is rolling out, I think, in waves. So just keep checking the Microsoft Store for updates, and that will eventually hit you, and that should be good to go. There was also another dev channel build this week. Nothing in it as per usual, so we won't be talking about that. And that's your update on Windows.
Fair enough. I want to check something here on my audio. When I was having some problems with the headphones.
What did you break?
No, you know what it is? I'm on the. Remember when we tried earbuds on Skype, and we said how there was those two settings for it for the Bluetooth. There's like the AG, and then there's the stereo.
Yep.
I'm using the stereo right now. It's working fine.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Before, right?
Yeah, no,
but
I can get it working.
Really good quality now. It's both sides, and it's synced up. And I'm like, so maybe something got fixed along the way.
Weird.
Yeah.
Dan, tell us about TikTok.
Right. So TikTok, still as of today, Friday the 28th, still no deal there, but there's been a lot of movement. So the CEO, ex-Disney guy, got his name, sorry, he's only been there for like a month, has stepped down. And the rumor is it's presumably because the deal is about to come together. I mean, they only have about 2 weeks left. That was given a deadline by the Trump administration. So that's one part of it. Other stories have come out about how this Microsoft kind of got involved and why. I will say, by the way, I think it was the New York Times that had an article, and in there they gave reasons why it makes sense for Microsoft to be involved here, speaking with people familiar with the deal. It's everything I wrote about on August 1st, where I said this is why it makes sense for Microsoft to buy TikTok. That includes the fact that they have Azure. Right now, TikTok is powered by Google's cloud stuff. Obviously, if Microsoft buys it, it would switch to Azure, so it's another good usage of their own technology. They also have deals with the government, including security and privacy stuff. In fact, there was a story, I believe it was this week or last week, that Microsoft is looking to expand those government deals with non-U.S. governments. That is the JEDI program here in the U.S., which is kind of on hold right now. But they want to do something similar with other foreign governments where they provide the infrastructure, the modern cloud services, and always connected experiences for modern governments, basically. So Microsoft has a good reputation there and an existing record, which makes, of course, U.S. government happy in this instance. There's also the fact that there's been a lot brought up about AI machine learning. This gives Microsoft a hose, they like to say, of data So you have all these kind of things. Of course, the ad business, because that's what is that TikTok is an ad e-commerce business. They make $20 billion in 2019. It's ridiculous. That's why when people, by the way, people always like, who cares? Someone wrote this on Windows Central. They're like, who cares? Only 12-year-olds care about TikTok. I'm like, it made $20 billion in 2019. If you're in business and interested in making money, they care about TikTok. Like you may not. By the way, TikTok's pretty great. Like I don't get why old people are like, it just means you just don't understand what it is and you've never actually experienced it. That's all. But $20 billion is nothing. Anyway, this week, Microsoft, New York Times, still in the lead to sort of seal the deal here. Oracle came out of nowhere and said they were interested in it, which is weird. Twitter and Netflix have apparently expressed interest, but there's apparently no hard discussions going on there. Some people believe that was brought up as a way to sort of gin up the idea that there's competition going on and, make the price higher. Obviously, TikTok. The problem with TikTok, they're being forced to sell this, and they don't want to get screwed, like in a fire sale, and be like, it's valued anywhere from 20 to 80 billion dollars, right? With 50 billion being what I've heard. Like they want to make sure they're getting their money's worth before they sell out. But then out of nowhere, Walmart got interjected into the conversation. It was funny because as the story was breaking, Walmart was brought up, but then the article said but no one's really taking it seriously because Walmart doesn't have like a cloud service. They don't have Azure. They don't have AWS. They don't have, Google Cloud. So how are they going to, they would need a partner to make that happen. So it's probably not going to happen with Walmart. Fair. And then an hour or two later, it was Walmart is teaming up with Microsoft to make a bid for TikTok, which then kind of makes sense. As much sense as the idea of Walmart owning TikTok or part of TikTok makes. I don't know how that.
The question I have is, what does teaming up mean?
I don't. It maybe just putting up the money. Microsoft has, I think, over 100 billion, 140 billion dollars on hand in cash that they could use or something like that. This deal is supposedly between 20 and 50 billion dollars. Which I said, makes it sounds crazy until I mentioned it made 20 billion in 2019, and that's only been going up. I've said it before in this podcast that TikTok as a social network is bigger than Twitter and Pinterest combined. It's massive, and it's growing. There's a lot of stuff there. So maybe Walmart would help front some of the money. It's not all the risk on Microsoft's end. Microsoft can sit back and be more of we're handling the back end, the cloud architecture, the security aspect of this. I don't know the angle for Walmart, except that Walmart for years has been trying to cut in on Amazon and e-commerce and all this kind of stuff. It probably is e-commerce. TikTok's e-commerce is a big portion of where that money comes from. Mm-hmm. And I imagine Walmart could weaponize that for sales and deals and shipping, and they have the logistics to handle that. So maybe that's probably actually the answer. So
weird times.
It is weird times, and we are expecting. There was one report said in the next 48 hours. That was 2 days ago. Another report said early next week. So by the time if you're not watching this live, by the time you hear this podcast, it may already be an announcement. Obviously, pay attention to the site for that.
And if that's true, then next Friday's episode will be interesting.
Yeah, I do think Microsoft is going to be a part of this, just because, as the New York Times wrote, and I said, which is obvious, Facebook, Amazon, Google, all companies that could handle this transaction are all facing antitrust scrutiny and government scrutiny and also public blowback from them controlling too much. There's already concern about Facebook and how they're handling. It's too hot for these companies to basically go through with this. It would be too much scrutiny and questioning about it, and no one would really support it, even though it makes a ton of sense, right? I mean, Facebook would kill to have this thing, but they're not going to get it. And they're not even in the talks, right? And it's a shame. But Microsoft, not under scrutiny. They're kind of seen as a neutral player. They do play fairly with everyone as much, they try to at least. They try to play ball with Apple. It's usually Apple that takes the ball home now. But they try to do these things with all these companies now. It's very different from the Ballmer era, So,
well, if Microsoft does buy TikTok, I will be the first to be requesting they update the app to support dual screens on Surface Duo.
yeah, sure. I still won't sign up for an account until they integrate MSA, Microsoft Sign In.
Oh yeah, I wonder if they do that. Because if they do buy TikTok, I will be interested to see how hands-on they are with it, right? Because
I don't think they will be.
Yeah. Are they buying TikTok to bring it under Microsoft, or will TikTok continue to operate as its own entity?
I think if you look at LinkedIn,
right,
GitHub, and Mojang, and how those operated, those all make a ton of money. They all operate independently. They do connect with Microsoft where it makes sense. I mean, LinkedIn does tie into Office and increasingly more of its apps, but LinkedIn effectively runs as its own company. In GitHub, there was concern because GitHub is a big open source repository for a lot of non-Windows developers. There was concern that Microsoft taking it over would all of a sudden be like, clamping down on that, and they haven't. GitHub's been doing quite well. So I think TikTok, the most they'll do. Don't forget, TikTok is driven by the algorithm. That's what makes it so expensive as a company. That algorithm is the key to getting people. It's not that TikTok are short videos. It's the fact that it shows, once it learns your habits and likes, it keeps showing you related content, so the app becomes addicting and you spend more time in it. That's the secret sauce. So that's what does it. And of course, it's user-driven content, right? I mean, TikTok as a company doesn't produce any of the content. It's all driven by the audience. So Microsoft, all they need to do is do the Azure backend, do the security and data stuff to make sure that's there. And I think there will be points of contact. Maybe they'll put TikTok on Xbox, right? That would make sense. But I don't think you're going to see a rebranding. You're not going to see TikTok by Microsoft. I don't think you'll see any of that.
Yeah. Well, of course, we'll keep you updated on the latest with TikTok. Next week will be interesting if Microsoft does enter into an agreement. That would be super interesting. But for now, we should probably round up the episode with the Xbox news of the week. So earlier this week, Microsoft announced that the Xbox dashboard is getting a UI refresh, which is always very exciting. This isn't as dramatic of a UI refresh as previous Xbox dashboards have been. It's still very much the dashboard we've had for a while, just updated with a few new interesting UI changes and additions with fluent design and whatnot. So it's got rounded corners now, which is super exciting. It also has slightly updated highlights. When you highlight things using the controller and press A on it, it has like a accented sort of rounded box around them now, which is super nice. Fonts have changed, so sort of header fonts it's using. Is it? I can't remember the name of how you pronounce it now. It's that sort of German pronounced new font that Microsoft developed. I cannot remember the name of it. But that's now the sort of default in a lot of areas. Sigoi is still in there, but it's not used as much anymore.
Is it Bauhaus? No.
I've said it before. I said it in a video, and I said it wrong in a video as well, and people corrected me, so I can't believe I've forgotten it. Let me see if I can find it.
Let's see. I'm looking at Matt Brown's tweets because I know he did something about it.
Font. I can't remember how it's spelled either. It's Banchcraft or Banschrift or something. Banschrift. I'm gonna see if I can find.
Banschrift.
Banschrift. Let's just say Banschrift. Banschrift. Yeah. So this is I think Microsoft developed it or co-developed it with someone, but this is the sort of interesting new font that Microsoft is adopting in areas, and we've seen it so far only really on Xbox products. But I would be interested to see if this eventually shows up in Windows as well. It's not a huge change from Sigoi, but it is different. So if you haven't seen it before, I would suggest you go and look it up. But yeah, all the sounds are the same, unfortunately. I was hoping for new sounds. I think adding new sounds to things can really reinvigorate the life in those products. That's why Windows 10X...
I want new Windows sounds.
Me too. Windows 10X has new Windows sounds. Just put them in Windows 10. You've already made them, Microsoft. What are you doing? But I'd also like to see some of those come to Xbox as well. But yeah, this new dashboard, of course, is gearing up for the Xbox Series X, which is expected in November, as well as the Xbox Series S. And it's also coming to Xbox One as well, including the OG Xbox One from 2013. And yeah, it is, again, a minor sort of UI update for the Xbox dashboard, but a nice one. It's a coherent UI. It matches the new Microsoft Store, which has a new UI as well. Lots of fluent design in there, blur effects, all the good stuff that you would expect. And it's nice to see at least one Windows product has a consistent UI, because the main one definitely doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've been updated. I will say I do like where they've been going with these updates, in the sense of, like, I like the menu now, how, like, the main menu, when you bring it up, like, it's easy to access the store. And if you're on Game Pass, which you should be, because Game Pass is awesome, you can just go right to Game Pass and see what's new and all that. In fact, I believe Fallout 76 is now in Game Pass, which is pretty crazy. I still don't game nearly enough as I would like to in my life, just because I always have, as I like to say, shiny objects in front of me. But I do like the way their menus are kind of simplified and been working. I'm very excited, though, to try the new Xbox Series X, mostly for the speed improvements, because it's always been a thing on Xbox. I'm okay with the Xbox X, One X, in terms of speed. But when you try, like, Samsung TV or any of the smart TV solutions out there, it's slow, right? So I can't wait to see how all that kind of comes together.
Yeah, me too.
Well, other than that, I believe that does it for the podcast here, unless there's no other topics.
No, I think that's it.
So there we go. If you want, you can join us every Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, to watch the podcast live and join our live chats. We will be doing Q&A now. So if you do have questions that we didn't talk about or answer during the podcast, you can now fire those off. If you're listening to this recorded, you don't get to hear that, unfortunately, but you can go back and rewatch the broadcast on our YouTube channel at Windows Central. And if you can join us live, like I said, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays, you are more than welcome. Other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at Daniel_Rubino, Rubino, also at Instagram at the same address. And you can follow Zach at ZACBOWDEN. Of course, you'll see us sharing a lot more on Surface Duo as we lead up to the reviews, if you can get an idea for what's going on there. Other than that, though, as always, thanks for tuning in. Be safe out there. Wash your hands, wear a mask, and don't forget to vote. I'm getting so political on this podcast.
And pre-order Surface Duo.
And pre-order Surface Duo. Take care, everybody.
By the end of 2020, you're going to have a long list of things.
I did forget to do the Ninja. Oh, something went wrong, but we saved what you recorded so far.
What went wrong? Oh, yeah.
Wow,
we can
recorder is...
Yeah, messing up. Yeah, it messed up for me as well, which is weird.
I do not have this podcast recorded.
Are you serious? Oh my God, Daniel, I hate you. We'll have to pull from the master. It just won't sound as good.
Nope.
God damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anywho, I forgot to do the stickers. So, but for you guys, okay, since you guys are listening live, here's what the sticker is. First of all, let me show you what I'm even talking about here. And we'll cover this again next week on the podcast. This is a Ninja Cat sticker. I was sent to these by someone at Microsoft who wishes to remain nameless because they don't want you bothering them for more of these. And what's cool about this flag is, Zach, why don't you explain what that flag means?
So that flag and that Ninja Cat specifically was sort of the internal unofficial mascot for the Andromeda project. If you take a look at the flag, you'll see that there's what appears to be a foldable of some kind in the shape of an A. That is a sort of reference to A being Andromeda. A lot of people refer to it as Project A internally. And this was the Ninja Cat and flag. Well, the flag was slightly different in some of the builds, but this sort of image was the default wallpaper in many of the Andromeda OS builds in 2017, 2018 time, I think. And it was, sort of an unofficial mascot internally. It was a sort of fun thing. It's a sort of Easter egg to the original Andromeda Vision. And Dan has stickers of them now.
Yeah, so how I'll do this now is we'll do 5 this week, 5 next week. I'll see how many I have left after that.
Can I have some?
Yeah, I'll send you one when I send you a Surface Duo. So to get one of these, this is only for the fans. I don't mean if you're listening or watching this.
And not just fans of Andromeda, but fans of us.
To get one of these, you need, and I'm going to have to draw a contest, obviously. I can't just give them to everybody because I only have so many. Send me an email, daniel@windowscentral.com. Pretty obvious. Put contest in the subject. Send me a screenshot of your receipt for your pre-order of Surface Duo.
Jesus.
Listen, this is an elite sticker.
Yeah.
This is only for, if you're wanting an Andromeda sticker,
you have to have an
Andromeda. You can only get if you're going to get an Andromeda device. Don't try photoshopping. I know what the receipts look like. I can run it through a filter. I'll see the Photoshop. Only if you pre-ordered, or if you it comes out later. Send me a screenshot. You can blur out your address, keep your name, keep your personal info obviously out. Although I'll need your address to actually send you the sticker. So, but do that. And if you're one of the lucky people, I'll see about sending you a sticker. I realize it's probably mostly US people. Sorry. But this is, we only have so many of these. And I think if you pre-ordered a Surface Duo, you're a hardcore fan. Like,
I agree.
We salute you.
And you were probably somebody who's been following this when you knew about it as Andromeda, so you definitely deserve the Andromeda sticker.
and for those supremely disappointed, it's just a sticker. It's not going to change your life, all right? It's not going to fix your marriage and will make your kid dumb or smart. It's not going to bring your dead dog back to life. It's just a sticker. So keep in perspective. It's just some fun we're having. But I have to have some sort of strict criteria to give these out.
And we'll mention that at the top of next week's show as well, since we didn't do it this week.
Right.
All right, so questions. If you have questions, please do ask them now. Now is the time.
I think we just pissed off everybody.
Our viewership's dropped, Dan. I don't know why.
Yeah, right. Sorry. What do you want? There's only so many of them here. I can't just keep printing these. I'm sure someone can make them on Etsy if you really want.
Yeah.
You probably go do that. You can probably make money. This is an idea that I'm too lazy to execute. So,
I think the special thing about the sticker is that it was made by somebody at Microsoft who was,
Yeah, this is an OG, because I remember when those stickers first came out. And it was hard to get the original ones from someone at Microsoft, but they did come out on Etsy, and you got a lot of good knockoffs on there. And listen, I got those. I bought those because why not? But yeah, this is an OG from someone at Microsoft. So they're 3M Scotch Cal film. They're good quality. What's cool, you can put it on the Surface Duo, and you can easily kind of peel it off, because they said the Duo is glass, so it's actually kind of...
Yeah, I think the back of the Duo is a good place to put it, thinking about it.
Yes, yeah. If you haven't seen it on Twitter, I did post in Instagram. I did post some photos of what it looks like. So.
Any Windows Core OS news? Nothing specific. I mean, the last update we sort of had on it was that with Windows 10X, at least, they were removing the Veil stuff from the initial product launch. It'll be launching in 2021 without Win32. It will rely on app streaming for legacy programs, but it will be natively supported with UWP and web apps. The UX isn't changing much. I think it's still going to look like Windows 10X. The shell will have translucency effects and reveal effects and stuff, which is notable only because the emulator builds we have so far don't have those features in there. There'll be a lot of polish. The search UI will be much better because in the current build it's kind of rubbish. And all of that stuff. But yeah, no real updates to what we already know about Windows Core. And I don't think we will. I think we're at a point now with Windows Core where it's done. We already know about most of it. And... now we're just waiting for it to be done, really.
2 quick questions. Do you know who designs those stickers at Microsoft? Yes, I do. They sent me them. And someone also asked about the ring. This is the Oura ring. I've talked about it before on this podcast. I still got to do a write-up on it, but I'm so far behind on stuff. It's Oura, O-U-R-A. $300. It's really good. I'm very happy with it. But you can go check it out there and see what other people have said about it. But yeah, it's a good smart ring. Someone's asking, what was it? What?
Sorry, go ahead. You go yours first.
Oh, someone's asking about, do you think Microsoft wanted to release Neo before the Duo in order to release this form factor to the public?
No.
I think you first.
Yeah, they wanted to do Duo first. Duo was Andromeda. They started working on the phone first back in 2015, 2016. The only real... I won't say it's the only reason, but one of the reasons why Neo exists is because Microsoft decided that they can't really ship a phone running Windows Core OS because it doesn't have apps. So the Neo sort of is half of the reason that exists is because, it works in the form of a PC. Surface Neo has two 9-inch screens. It's PC sized. It can run PC apps. The problem with the Duo running Windows is that it didn't run PC apps. It couldn't run the Win32 programs. The Neo can. So that's sort of why Neo exists. But it would have been Duo first and then Neo later. But because of the OS switch with Android, Neo was sort of brought forward, I think, because that's Microsoft's version of dual screens for Windows, right? It's just bigger.
I already got 2 emails from people.
Nice. Remember to save one for me.
Don't worry, I'll definitely save you. I'll save you 2.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. 2 for dual screens. I get it.
Let's see what else was there for questions. Do you think? Oh, someone asked about the Surface earbuds and how they pair. I don't want to get into the software again. I'll just say they pair beautifully. I mean, it's what you would expect. Sort of, they work very well.
Do you sign into the Duo with a Google or Microsoft account? It's both. You can choose to do one or the other or none, but if you want the Play Store and you want the Microsoft services, you have to sign into both.
Have you put the bumper on the Duo yet? And if so, how easy is it to put on? So I have not. I have it actually right here in front of me. This is what it looks like in the little box that it comes in. It's actually a pretty clever thing that they did. I have not because it's held on, as I said, by 3M tape. And so once you put it on, you don't want to keep pulling it off, right? You kind of want to put it on there and leave it there. I'm sure if you did, you'd stick again, but it gets less, right? So it is pretty easy to put on. But at least from what I've seen, but I got to wait till I finish some of these reviews before I put it on myself. Someone's asking, it's pretty ugly. I think it looks pretty great. I mean, considering the design, as I said, like putting a sticker on the front and back of this already causes it when you reverse it to the phone mode. You can't do much with cases. That said, I've heard Spigen, very popular maker. They make very good cases for all sorts of smartphones. I heard they are working on a case. It's going to be fun to see how companies try to come up with cases for this. I believe they will. I wouldn't be surprised if UAG, big partner of Microsoft, they make the rugged stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they do something, but it is a challenge, no doubt, to make a case for this. But the bumper, I think it's a really nice solution. I'm glad they put it into the case. That was nice. We have heard, and you can see it in the Panos video. You can see in the background, there are this bumper in other colors, specifically the colors that match the Surface type cover, what do they call it? The expensive one. So it comes in a red, like a cobalt blue kind of thing, and like a black, right? A dark gray. I imagine, I haven't been told, but I imagine those goes on sale around September 10th. So you can get different colors. I think the blue will look awesome.
Yeah. A couple of questions here. How do updates for Windows Core OS work? Do they work in a special way for HoloLens 2 and Windows 10 X, or are they just released, or do they just release the normal cumulative updates we know and love from 10 Mobile? So Windows Core OS can take both cumulative update and full feature update type updates. But the special part about Windows Core OS is that they've reworked Windows Update so that when a full build is available to download, so for example, going from 1803 to going from 1803 to 1809 or 1903 to 2004, numbers. When it's a full build release on Windows Core OS, that update doesn't take 25 minutes to install anymore. It will do the download and install in the background as you're using your PC. And then when Windows says, "Hey, I'm ready to restart," instead of pressing restart and then having the installing update 1%, 2%, it will just restart like normal, similar to Android on the Pixels and stuff. Because they've reworked the Windows image so that it's segregated, and I think they call it state separation. It's separated into different partitions so that the Windows files are in a separate partition. There's also a mirrored partition so that when there is an update being installed, it installs to the offline partition. So it does all that business in the background, and then when it's done, you just simply restart into that offline partition that just spent 45 minutes dealing with the update in the background. And that's exclusive to Windows Core OS. I do not think they're bringing that to full Windows 10, only because they can't. The Windows 10 image is laid out entirely differently compared to Windows Core OS. The other question I saw was... I've lost it. Do you believe the next iteration of Duo will come out in 2021 or 2022? I'm hearing 2021. Late 2021 is what I'm hearing right now. Of course, that could change. They could push that back to 2022 if something bad happens. But so far, I'm hearing 2021.
Well, if those 5 people on Twitter keep telling me they're going to cancel this and it'll never happen and it's instant fail, I don't know, Zach. Someone's asking, can you use it like this or leave it like this? Basically phone mode, so the screen's on the outside. Can you just leave it like that? Yeah, sure, you can.
Is there...
I will say, the thing is, the fingerprint reader is now on the front part of the screen, so you're actually a little bit more likely to touch it. It's kind of funny. I just noticed that because when it's on the secondary screen, it's you don't accidentally touch it as much. But you can actually, if you drop it, you're going to very much shatter the main display versus the outside. It feels weird because now I'm manhandling the display, and now I just really want to get my trusty cloth and wipe it down. But you could. If you want to pull out your phone and a phone call comes in, yeah, you can do that. I don't know if I would. Listen, I feel like this is the reason I'm wearing the Surface earbuds and they sent them along. I feel like this makes a really good pair. So if a call comes in, I feel like this is how I want to take my call anyway. But yeah, you do you. You can do that if you want to.
What do you expect for the next generations of Surface Pro and Surface laptops? So I think it wouldn't be too far out of too big of stretch to assume that the next Surface Pro 8 will feature a design similar to the Surface Pro X. I am hearing there's a new Surface Pro with LTE on the way this year, and I don't know if that means Surface Pro 8 with LTE or just a new Surface Pro X. My source doesn't know, unfortunately, but later this year, a new Surface Pro with LTE is coming. Surface Laptop 4...
That's good.
Yeah, Surface Laptop 4, I'm thinking similar design, but with the new AMD Ryzen 4000s, which will be a huge bump in performance, both graphically and from just performance in general, which will be very exciting to see.
Indeed, as you would say.
When you review Duo software, could you please try to find an app that can emulate Xbox controller on one screen and try controlling a game that supports Xbox controller on the other? I'll be surprised if Dan can find anything like that because I doubt any developers have updated with support.
Yeah. As you say, tell you what, find me an app or whatever, a game that does that, and I'll try it out. I don't know anything off the top of my head, but we'll see. This is not a gaming device. It has the potential to kind of be a gaming device. I think Microsoft will explore that, but that's not the primary. Listen, they're very much focused on, one, the form factor, two, the productivity aspect of this. I think other things like Xbox game streaming, which, yeah, you can install the app on this, right? I mean, it's just an Android app. But right now, they're not aiming this at gamers. I just think eventually it could turn into that, right?
Dan, I know you can't show us the phone in use, but can you have someone call you so we can hear the ringtone? I can call you. If you...
Sure. You have my phone number?
Yeah. See if this works.
Let me make sure I have it on.
Hurry up. Right? Oh, you can't show the software.
Oh. Sorry. You hear it?
I can't hear it. Oh, because you got RTX on.
RTX voice on. Hold on. Keep calling me. Oh, it's turning off. There it goes. Try again.
Just a bit. All right, I'll call you back one more time.
Are you calling again?
Yeah, it's coming through.
Okay, there it goes.
There you go. That's what it sounds like.
Decline.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to charge me a fortune to call you all the way over there.
It says unknown contact.
You don't have my number?
My contacts are a mess.
Yeah, Android's really bad at contacts. And Duo doesn't fix that, apparently. Someone was asking, I saw a question and I've lost it. Will they make a Surface Studio monitor? So they are rumored to be working on one, and we could see it later this year. I don't know that for a fact. It's possible. I had heard that sometime in 2020 a studio monitor was on the way. That could have been delayed because of COVID, of course. COVID has thrown all the plans up in the air quite significantly. A Surface Studio 3 was on the cards for this year as well, but I don't know if that's coming either now because of COVID. These sort of super expensive, like, creator-driven PCs, I think they're just going to hold on to them for a bit and then wait until COVID's died down and whatnot. But we'll have to see. Of course, we are expecting new hardware in the fall, October, November time, and we'll see what they announce there.
Wow, already got... Just to let you guys know, I am getting these. I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of you have emailed me with the for the contest.
How many stickers do you have? You'd have to say?
I would say like 25, maybe.
Oh, it's a very limited batch.
Yes. Not a ton.
Are you going to remember to send them out this time? Did you send out those T-shirts?
This will be easier because I imagine most of these people are in the US.
Yeah.
I'll get these done. But yeah, we'll just do 5 now, 5 next week, and then we'll see. You got to have a few. I need a few. I want to hold one for Jez, but Jez will never get it until he gets a Duo.
Yeah, because he doesn't have one, right? He's not allowed one because he doesn't own a Duo. That's the rule.
Right. Yes. If he gets a Duo or Duo 2, he will earn this sticker. But that's the only way, the only way you get this sticker is if you have bought a Surface Duo.
If you lay down 1,400 of your own hard-earned dollars.
Yep.
When is the next Xbox event? It feels most people would like to see more announcements around games. Is it too late to expect something at this stage? I think so. I don't think we'll be seeing any more game events. Regarding, I mean, they've still got to announce Series S, so there will be some sort of event, or maybe even just a press release. But there'll be an announcement around that, and that's when they'll do pricing and pre-orders as well.
Have you heard anything further development or adoption of the Qualcomm 7CX? No, I haven't. Actually, I don't know much about what's going on with that. I will say, though, stay tuned for Qualcomm news. Ooh. IFA is right around the corner. We talked about it last week. Qualcomm, of course, usually announces mobile chipsets and stuff for its phones and, of course, 5G. But there may be stuff related to Windows 10 and ARM there. Maybe not. I'm just going to say that, I know people keep saying, people want Windows 10 and ARM to die. I just don't get it. But it's momentum. It's going. Like I said about that, too. That's not a sprint. That's a journey for Microsoft. But something about that news will tie into stuff Zach has talked about previously on this podcast. So
I missed that. What was it regarding?
I'll tell you after.
Okay.
You know what it is.
I can't remember. Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was reading the questions.
I'll put it on Telegram.
Okay. I have my name. I was like, I should pay attention. Oh yeah.
Like, I think there'll be a connection there. Right?
Yeah,
it plays into that idea.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Can I get the sticker if I order the Duo on the 10th? If I have some left, that's why I'm trying to space it out a little bit. Plus, we didn't do that on the podcast, so it's not fair, But we'll see. We'll see when the 10th comes. If I can do 5 now, 5 next week, and maybe 5 the week after, I think that'd be fair. So, yeah. So I have to create a filter in my Gmail now.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
I love my Surface Pro X. Yes.
Oh, Dan, did you notice that I created a calendar event for the podcast every Friday?
I did. You're getting there, man. It's a running joke with our company and specifically the Windows Central team about calendars and organization. Jez being probably the worst, and I gave everybody a life tip this week with Slack, which we have to use. We don't use Teams, unfortunately. Something happened, but yeah. So Zach now created an actual calendar event for our podcast, which I think is funny. It's the one thing I don't forget. Like, there's never been a Friday. It's like 2:16. Like, oh, I'm late for the podcast.
Well, I was just looking at my calendar. I was like, I was kind of sad that I have nothing to add to my calendar ever, and I was like, oh, I know what to add to the to the calendar. The podcast I do every week.
I use the calendar a lot.
I don't.
Man, I tell you, the Apple Watch is getting so good. I'm beta testing the new watch software or whatever it is.
We should have talked about the new Fitbits.
Yeah, we can talk about that next week.
Yeah.
But on the Apple Watch for Outlook, you can send yourself a voice note, which is wild. So you go into Outlook and you hit send voice note or whatever, and you click it. Microphone clicks on, it auto transcribes what you say, and then it emails yourself the note, which is so like genius. I tell you, like the Apple Watch is just like, I'm not into, I've heard endlessly mechanical watches lately and have a new one showing up next week. Yeah. But when the Apple Watch is so freaking useful, like I just tried that new app, the one you shared with the Tesla one. That's a really good Tesla app, by the way. The reason why so Apple is like enforcing a new API thing. It's really stupid. And this Tesla app is like one of the first targets and sucks. Why that app is different is it directly connects to your car kind of thing without going through the phone. And it's pretty wild. Like it's super fast. Like you can just instantly unlock your car. It's so cool. But why is it the Apple though? It's just like if I could use that on an Android, it'd be good. But then it wouldn't be that. Someone's asking, oh yeah, sorry. What were you saying?
I'm just going, do you guys expect anything in the direction of a dock, a la Continuum, where this device could be a computer? No. Microsoft would prefer you use your phone instead.
Yep. Someone's asking about this. So here's the bumper. They're asking about this part. And so, by the way, the bumper, it's kind of stiff. It's weird. It's a combination of like hard plastic for that and then like a rubber. So they're asking about that, why that is.
I know. Like, I saw some stupid rumor that was like, oh, there's a hidden feature in the bumper. I was like, no, there isn't. There's no hidden feature.
So it'll look like that on a device. By the way, I feel like that. I can't wait to put this bumper on. Actually, I'm very excited about it. I really want to just get through these reviews of all this stuff because I really want to put the bumper on. It's a simplistic answer. It's just a grip. It's just a little extra thing for your fingers to latch onto. To give them something a little more tactile, to add some texture to the device. It is a nice rubber that, the way this device feels with the glass, it's very nice. It's not slippery, but this adds a little bit, like I said, more texture. That's all it is. You can see here why I have it. You can see the little door I was talking about that they built in. You gotta, well, anyway, I won't pull it out. But there's a little door that's for the SIM. You have this nice cutout you can see there for the fingerprint reader. Makes so easy finding that and turning it on. But that's all it is. There's no mystery. I'll try the Surface Pen to stick on there. I don't know where that went to. Oh, it fell on the floor. It sticks to that.
Not well.
Yeah, it's the side with the sticker facing out, not the Microsoft logo. Panos would never want that to happen.
On the front, is it Microsoft logo facing forward?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. How strong? Like, if you shake that, will it fall off? No, it's pretty
It's
on
all
there.
right.
It's pretty on there.
But you can see the bottom.
Yeah, so about that. So as you mentioned on the podcast, internal prototypes did have more dedicated magnets for that. But I think the reason they didn't do it is because one, they want it to wirelessly charge if it attaches, and two, if it wirelessly charges, that means the already small battery is giving up juice for the pen. So, although it wouldn't be much juice, it's still more juice for something that isn't the device itself. So that's why that's not in there officially.
I don't know if I can talk about it. I know a little bit more now why they didn't do NFC. It was actually really interesting.
Based on what I was told from sources ages ago, it's all about space. Like the thing's tight. The thing is so thin.
There's a little bit more to that too, and let me blow your mind. if you were to put NFC into this device, first of all, there is the space consideration. I know it's a couple microns. It's not like tremendously thick, but this is like absurdly thin already. It's not like there's extra space in here, and they could just jam it in there in like a suitcase, just push down a little harder on the case, right, and just jam it in there. It doesn't work like that. There's extra wiring and all this kind of stuff. But let me concede, and I should probably talk about this on the podcast. I'll talk about it next week too. Let's say you put NFC on this. Where do you put it? Well, most people would say on the back. But what happens now if I'm using this as a phone?
Dun, dun, dun.
And now the screen's on the back. So that interferes with the NFC.
Yeah, so this is a fascinating insight into the many issues that Microsoft ran into when building this form factor. It's not as simple as just putting two screens together and being done with it, which is what a lot of people think Microsoft did. They didn't, and because the Surface team are so intricate when it comes to small details like that, like they obsess about everything, every little thing.
They really do.
That is a problem for them, and that's why. And it's also the same reason why they do not have a camera bump on the outside of the device. They had prototypes with that, as did they have prototypes with NFC. Those two features aren't in there because they wanted to make the form factor perfect. They didn't want to compromise it in any way for additional features. And I think that's fascinating.
A big thing with Microsoft and the Surface team's design aesthetic and mantra is about expectation. What is the user's expectation that should happen when you do something? And so with NFC, like I said, you would expect maybe on the back here, but because of the way this device operates, they would prefer to basically have NFC here and here so that whatever posture you're using it in, it works without you thinking about it. But now you've doubled the problem and the consideration. So these are engineering things they need to think about. They could, as Zach said, just slap it in there and let you figure it out, and you may not be able to use it in certain situations or certain postures, and sorry, tough luck. But that's not what they're going for. So I mean, I don't know if it's better not to have it in there at all, but there's also the space constraints, and they'll figure this stuff out. But yeah, these are engineering challenges. It's really interesting.
So will Duo 2 get thicker, or will the hardware get slimmer? I think the hardware will remain the same. I think the size and the thinness will remain the same. The bezels will get slightly thinner. Chips internally will combine. The chip itself will become more energy efficient, which means you can technically put a bit smaller battery in there while maintaining the same battery life, which frees up space for other things inside the device. I do not expect them to make this thing thicker. They were very keen on it being this thin, and it has always been this thin, even 3 years ago.
Yeah, they're not going to step back from that.
Even when it was metal, it was still 4.8 millimeters. They've kept to that.
So I'm saying I sacrificed my Microsoft privileges so they could hear a ringtone. I showed the screen. The screen was seen for a second. There's nothing on there that you didn't already know. You didn't get to see the OS in action. Yeah. And I'm not talking about the OS in action. And as far as the ringtone, you've all heard it before anyway. So hopefully you've heard it.
Does the Duo need to sell well for Microsoft to continue with Android OS, or do you see them supporting other OEMs if they build their own two-screen devices? So Duo V1 I don't think has to sell incredibly well. I don't think Microsoft's expectations for this version are very high. If it doesn't meet Microsoft's low expectation for this, then there might be a problem, but they will still push on with the Duo 2 anyway. This device has been committed to 3 years of support, so it will be getting 3 years of software updates. That is what they've committed to. They've said that publicly. Going back on that claim would be terrible PR, so they won't. They will just ride it out and support it for however long they said they will. And there will be a Duo 2, regardless of how well Duo 1 sells. It could sell 5 units. It could sell 100,000. It could sell 10 million. They're still doing a Duo 2.
I see we have some armchair engineers telling us that the NFC should be on the upper edge of the device. Probably. I don't know.
It should be in the hinge.
I'll say, I will say that space is already occupied. Yeah. Like the other antenna is already running through there for LTE, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. A lot of the wiring is up there. You can actually see the inside stuff. Microsoft has shown images of it and stuff like that. It's not like there's no extra space in this right now. And so yeah, maybe it should be in a certain place. It should, I think, be in a couple places so that it works no matter what. But they're going to have to figure that out, and they would have to redesign core aspects of that internal board to add this stuff. And that's not something you do in 2 months. I'm sure it's something they're working on now, thinking about this. But listen, they set the bar high, and I really feel like Panos basically said, "This is the size it has to be. Figure it out." And we're not going to ship it until we have the technologies to make it like this. Like I said, they could have made it 5 millimeters thick, 5.4 millimeters, put a big battery in there, jammed it in all the stuff, and it would have been a big, heavy thing in your pocket, right? But they want to wow you on version 1 with the hardware division. The other smaller details can come later on. Doesn't mean you need to buy it now. And as Zach said, they don't need to sell a lot of these. It's more about the perception of it, the reception of it, whether it clicks with people. And I've already heard from some reviewers. I heard one reviewer tell me that they had, quote, an emotional connection with this device within 24 hours.
Was it Panos?
It was not Panos. It was a reviewer. So it's clicking with people. And that's what's going to matter. Like I said, are we talking about Duo in 3, 6, 9 months? Like, that's going to be the story to follow.
I will be. I can't get over it. Do you think Microsoft is going to be going to shutter the Microsoft Store, the apps portion? That is, no. The Microsoft Store is here to stay. It's how you update your inbox apps, and that's a very important part of the Windows 10 experience.
Can you imagine if your inbox apps came through
Windows Update? Kill me now.
Yeah. And not only is the inbox apps, but increasingly NVIDIA, Dell's own apps, HP's own apps, Lenovo's own apps, Intel's apps, AMD's apps, Dolby, all these companies, all their stuff is in the store now, gets updated directly through there. They're not going to undo that. And frankly, as a user, I really enjoy having that ability. I think it's great now. The Intel utility is now in the store, it goes through there. I love Crystal Diskmark is in the store. Like, the store has its role.
Do you expect Microsoft to keep up with Android updates? So I've been told Microsoft will be committing to monthly updates. So I assume that means every month there'll be a new security update, which may or may not include new features and bug fixes for the OS as well.
Thanks for the Big Apple Buddy link. Hopefully it'll arrive on the 16th. So for those curious, it was something I didn't know about. There's a site we linked to, did a store. We should talk about that on the podcast. We'll make a mental note, Zach. We'll do this next week. You can order Surface Duo through a third party, which isn't surprising. I imagine Amazon will eventually get this through third parties. But there's a company called Big Apple Buddy, which is a very odd name. And what they do is obvious. They're a company. They buy stuff in the U.S., ships to them, and then they will ship to you wherever you are in the world by FedEx. It's not free. I believe their charge is $50 on top of that. And then you probably have to pay any import fees and taxes on top of that, meaning this can easily go add $150 to $200 onto the total price. But some of you are already doing it. You can place orders through them. And apparently they're going to ship you the device on the 16th, which is a pretty fast turnaround.
Yeah, so Dan, you've got to beat that. You've got to be faster than that for me.
Right. Well, they do. Yeah, they charge $90, I think, for shipping or something like that. So that's right. It was $90 for shipping, $50 for the transaction fee. So it's not cheap. Of course, the downside is you don't get like a warranty with the device, and if something breaks, good luck on getting it serviced, but that's the risk you'll have to take. But some of you are doing it, and you probably should send me a sticker. or send me your receipt, and I'll think about sending you a sticker. Sorry.
Yeah, the people who are importing these from outside the US are the real fans.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, I think a couple more questions, and that should be enough. Any more news about the Cortana conference phone, the one that would just transcribe meetings and emails? Oh yeah. So no, is the answer to that. That thing was, I think, more of a developer kit, and I don't even think it ever released. I think a lot of that tech's been being built into Teams because Microsoft has Teams phones. If you didn't know, you can actually buy conference phones that has Teams built in now, which is frankly absurd, but you can do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that sort of transcribe technology end up in those sort of things. But the answer to your question is we have no updates on that, and I do not think that thing's ever coming, unfortunately. Is Surface Duo the hardware Microsoft originally intended for Andromeda? So I will go into this in more detail when I do the write-up in a few weeks' time. But the answer to that is yes and no. Surface Duo is very much the successor to what Andromeda was. There are differences in the hardware. Some are more significant than others, but the form factor is the same. It's still 4.8 millimeters, 5.6 inch screens, dual screens, that is. The hinge is more or less the same, although the Andromedas had couple more neat features, which may show up in Duo 2. Just because the old Andromeda features aren't there in Duo 1 doesn't mean they won't show up again in the future. But differences between the hardware include things like the Andromedas were metal. They had an external camera with a camera bump. It had the pen, which dedicated magnets for the pen. A couple other things as well. It had a peak button, which when you pressed on it, the Duo would snap open to the peak mode, which isn't there in the Duo. But if you were to hold the two devices up, they're very, very similar. Just obviously the Andromedas had, I guess, more modules and more components. Obviously, the big difference is Andromeda ran Windows, Duo runs Android, and that's obviously the massive change that this product went through. But the form factor has remained the same the whole time. Dual screens, hinge, foldable. That's been the case since 2015. Which to me, and I'll mention this in the article, to me the Surface Duo has the most interesting development history of any Surface product ever. Even the Surface RT, which I think was quite fascinating. I think Surface Duos tops that by a long shot because of how it started, where it went, how it was essentially almost killed, and then how Microsoft revived it with Android, and now we have the Duo today. What do you expect the next Surface Book and Studio to have? I would, for the book at least, I wouldn't be surprised to see a redesign of some kind, because we've had 3 generations of the same design now, so I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of change it up a bit. Maybe a new hinge design, thinner bezels, all of that good stuff. Studio, I don't know. I think the Studio looks beautiful, and I don't want them to change much about it. If anything, thinner bezels. The Surface Studio's bezels are the biggest of it on any Surface, I think, not including the original Surface Hub. They're massive. I think they're like 2 thumbs worth. But yeah, thinner bezels on that would be great. Like they could easily keep the same form factor and increase this display by an inch or so, 2 inches maybe to 30 inches. And that would be a nice enough upgrade for me.
Music videos on YouTube will pause if the focus is on another app when you do split screen on Android. Can you, when you review the software, try to see if Duo does that? Sure.
Is there a rubber cascading, at least in the SIM slot of Duo? As far as I'm aware, there's not. A few people mentioned that Twitter reviewers that there is no rubber band around the SIM slot.
I don't get that. Rubber band.
It's for waterproofing. So OnePlus used to do it, even though their phones weren't waterproof. They still had the rubber band. But Duo is definitely not waterproof.
No. Steve Sistrunk is talking about how he was just at Best Buy and got to play with the Duo. Yep. He says he agrees with me. You can play with it, but you really need to take it home, use it for days. Now, the good thing is if you buy it through Microsoft, you get 60 days of a return policy, which is pretty crazy. Just don't destroy the packaging in the box and don't drop or break the device in that 60 days.
60 days
but that's
is
a long
great.
time.
Yeah.
That's a really long time. So full money back guarantee and all that kind of stuff. And in that 60 days, if somehow the price drops, like they discount it, they'll give you the difference and all that kind of stuff. They have a really good program for that. But 60 days if you're in the US, I think you should buy through Microsoft just for that. If you're really on the fence, I mean, shoot, buy it, try for a month, don't drop it, and see if you like it, right? It's the only way you'll find out, I'm telling you. But if you don't have $1,400, don't do that. Obviously, some people, I wrote that article about how you could just use a smartwatch for tap to pay. And a few people were like, we should talk about that next week too. A few people were like, oh, so now I got to spend like an extra $200 just for tap to pay. I'm like, if you're on Windows Central commenting on this article, there's probably a really good chance you own a Fitbit or a smartwatch, or if not, you're in the market for one and are looking at a new Galaxy Watch 3. Let's be honest, this is a very tech-centric audience. If you don't have a smartwatch now, you're probably thinking about getting one. But I mean, grandma has Fitbit. Like everybody has a Fitbit these days. I use the Charge 4. It has NFC tap to pay, right? So I think it's a valid solution for a lot of people. Plus, if I had a choice of pulling my Duo out to make tap to pay or using my Fitbit, I'm gonna use my Fitbit. Like, why wouldn't I? Why do I have to reach? If I'm pulling my phone out of my pocket and putting it up to a device, why not pull out my wallet at that point? Like, I don't understand the difference here in effort. But a wearable, I kind of get. A wearable actually does make things easier, although I think it's awkward putting your wrist up to a device, but that's me.
Does the Duo have...
How does the size... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, you go on.
I was going to say, how does the size of Duo compare to BlackBerry Passport? I never had that device. Always wanted it. I eyed it because I thought it looked cool. Yeah. I think it's pretty similar. Actually, I do have right here. I can't show you this screen either. It is my passport. Here it is compared to a U.S. passport. I'll probably do a photo of that later. But you can say if you can fit a passport in your pocket, it's just a little bit taller. That's all it is. It's slightly wider, but not much. When you have the bumper on, can you still fold the Duo 360 degrees? Absolutely. That's the whole reason the bumper is there. The way it's designed, and so it doesn't interfere at all with the function of the device. Enjoying your use of the Duo thus far, beyond being enamored by the looks of it. I talked a little bit about on the podcast. I don't want to get into the software experience. But as I said, it's a device you need to live with for a few days. I already have an idea how I'm going to write this review because it's kind of funny. But it is the most radical shift in mobile computing I've ever experienced. And because of that, it requires a different mindset and a way of thinking. And for some people, that first reaction, the first day with it is going to be a test, But yes, the longer I use it, the more it's growing on me, and I'm like really kind of appreciating it. So, but I'll save the rest for the review. When will color bumpers be available? September 10th. We don't know officially. Microsoft hasn't confirmed about those, but that is the speculation.
When is Zach getting to go get a tour of the building where they make Surfaces in? We've actually, me and Dan both have had a tour of that place. It's fascinating, and I would love to go again, actually.
Yes. If we can ever go back to Redmond.
Yeah.
We also got to see the Human Factors group. That's the lab where they do the testing of the ergonomics of all their devices. So basically how this fits in your hand. Remember I mentioned how when I'm holding it like this, it just feels natural. It's sort of a natural size. Xbox controller, they screen brightness, how it looks in the sun. That's where they do all that testing there. That's also where they had the anechoic chamber where they test audio, which is pretty wild.
Can you register more than one finger to unlock it?
What was that?
Can you register more than one finger to unlock it?
Yeah, it's Android. It's straight up Android. It's just, there's no like Windows Hello thing there. It's just a straight up fingerprint reader.
Will there be a Microsoft Store app on Android? No.
Yeah, I don't see why they would. Microsoft is very... there's a very interesting philosophy here when it comes to Android. Samsung has done a lot of Samsunginess to its devices, including S Pen, to make that stuff work and better than what Android can do, right? Like the S Pen, I bring it up, does like a ton of stuff, including has a persistent app that kind of runs and allows you to do stuff. They've really gone outside the box. They're kind of forking Android, right? They're doing their own thing, and that's part of their ROMs and everything. Microsoft is not doing that. Microsoft is very much playing with Google and Android here. Whatever they do on Duo is not going to be proprietary. The changes they make is all available for other OEMs if they want to do it. They're not going to break anything in Android, and that includes the pen stuff. Like, I don't think you're going to see pen-specific things from the Duo. It's just going to follow whatever Android is enabling for pens. The goal that Microsoft is trying to do, though, is they're trying to lean on Google to basically make these changes and go along with it, because it's not just Microsoft doing dual screens, other OEMs. It benefits Android to have this stuff. That's Microsoft's theory. Just like what they're doing with Chrome, right? They're building Edge. They're making these changes and commits, and then they're trying to send them back up to Google and be like, here, we fixed scrolling. Maybe you want to put that into the main line. And Google will be like, yeah, we'll take that. We'll put it in our device. And sometimes they turn them down. There was the thing with the RAM and memory and all this kind of stuff. They turned it down. But that's the goal. Microsoft trying to lean on the open source aspect of Chrome to make those changes for everybody. And that's how they're going to treat Android. So,
how is screen brightness in the daylight?
I don't know if I can really talk about that.
That's hardware. Yeah, I guess maybe not risk it.
Yeah. Windows Hello would have been dope to have on the Duo, sure, but I mean, iPhone 12 leaks have come out and they still have that giant notch on there. And listen, that's the trade-off for having a really good Face ID system with all the sensors, right? But they can't get rid of that notch anytime soon. So
there's also no room for it. A face recognition module is huge. It takes up so much space.
Yep. Someone's asking, is there a chance to become the Duo your daily driver? I mean, you're only one. It is I have other phones around me. And occasionally, as I'm still moving into this device, I don't do a restore, by the way. I set up a device.
I'm the same. I did brand new.
Yeah, like a man. So I'm still installing apps on mine. That said, this does have my main SIM in it, and it is basically my main device. And the world hasn't stopped working. So it's been fine. Can you imagine the reviewers at the end of 2 weeks trying to go back to standard narrow signal devices? So it's different for mobile tech sites. It would be weird. They may prefer Duo, but their job is literally to, as the next phone comes in, to put their SIM into that and try to live in that one. That makes it hard. I have the same problem with laptops. I have to live in a laptop review and write it up. Meanwhile, like, Pro X is my main device. If I could just use a Pro X, I'd just be happy. But I have to keep putting it down, and so it's going to be tougher for pro reviewers, but they still may carry it around as their main phone when they can, right?
That's why I don't like reviewing hardware, because I like using the stuff I like. What are the penalties for breaking the information embargo? Generally, it would just be, usually if you do it once, then it's like, okay, fine. Like, if it was an accident, then no worries. But if you like repeatedly like break embargoes, they would just stop talking to you. They just won't give you embargoes anymore. That's the penalty. Like, oh, there you go. And if they've ever sent you hardware before, they might ask for it back.
Right. Yeah, it's usually about intent.
Yes, exactly.
Do you intend to spoil it for everybody? Did you knowingly share information you weren't supposed to, or did you accidentally slip?
Because a lot of the time, an embargo is usually broken because some system or a time zone that wasn't understood properly. Right. So it's usually always an accident. Like the Surface Duo actual embargo, when it was announced on August 12th, was broken hours before it was being announced officially. Luckily, I was up at the time, so we were able to sort of capitalize on that. But had we just left the systems to run automatically, we would have been 4 hours, 5 hours later than everybody else with the Duo news. Even Microsoft brought up its own embargo because of that. They were like, oh, by the way, we're moving the embargo up, just so you know. Oh, geez, okay.
Yeah, and it's also hard with Duo just because you know the hardware now. You've actually all seen the operating system in action.
Yeah.
Like you saw it in when Panos demoed it live. Like that's it. Like there's no secrets, right? So it's weird, like I could talk about like the app pairing, that thing. I can't tell you how it's actually used to use it, but I can talk about it because it's already out in the open. So it does make it hard, but I can't like review it, right? I can't show it to you in action. I can't share with you thoughts of what I like about it and all this kind of stuff. But the stuff exists. There's no secrets about it that we're not showing you. I know there's always this like there was that rumor you mentioned earlier about like there's the bumper. I think there's something about it's going to support secret accessories.
Yeah.
Like, there's no. And like, I know people were saying, as we talked about this part already, like, oh, I heard that's for the pen. It's like, if it was for the pen, that was its purpose. One, they would have sent me the pen. They didn't. I just have one. Two, they would have told us.
Yeah.
Like that's not like if a pen magnetically sticks to this or holds it, that's not like some like, one more thing. Like it's okay. Cool.
Yeah, that would be like Microsoft announcing the original Surface Book and then not revealing that it detaches until it ships. Oh, by the way, right. It comes off.
Yeah. There's no big secrets with Duo. That's it hasn't been revealed. So don't. Yeah. That's not why we're not showing you the operating system. What you've seen, you can already. The question is what they've shown you, is that the reality and how does it feel, right? That's the question I can't talk about, but you've already seen the OS in action. So
yeah. Does the embargo or NDA apply to you or the company? I think it's to you, right? I don't think. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if there are leaks and outside people report. Like if someone else from another site post something, we can repost it, right?
Yeah, just Dan can't write.
That's called fair use. Yeah. That's just how that stuff works.
Like for example, if they've told Dan something under embargo, but I've heard it from my own sources, because if I'm not included in the embargo, that's my information. Right. If I found that out through some sources, then that's on Microsoft for not including me in the embargo.
Right. See, like, have they updated the software already on Duo? Like that, I can't really speak to. I'll just say it's an Android phone. It gets Android app updates like any other store does, right? So, but that's obvious. But I can't speak specifically to that stuff yet.
When you get your Duo, will you do a real-world usage comparison between the Duo and the Galaxy Fold? I'll definitely give it a go. I am planning to sell the Fold because I don't like it anymore. But I'll see. Depending on how quick or slowly I get it sold, I'll definitely do a comparison of some kind.
Someone's asking about a lot of people want to know how the sausage is made stuff. They're wondering if I'm under an embargo, can I share it with you? It's a fine line. So if I went and told a bunch of people in the company, then someone in the company leaked it, I'm responsible for that. It comes back on me, and it eventually comes back on the site anyway. So obviously, if I know something that's a secret, I want to keep as few people aware of that. In terms of just logistics, sometimes I do, Zach. We have a core team. We generally keep each other updated because if Zach's working on a story, they got to contradict something that's coming out. I'm not going to let him go out and write the story like Microsoft's killing Windows 10, and then I'm like, oh, I just told that they're definitely not killing Windows 10. Like I'm not going to let him go out and do that, right?
Not only that, we're a team, and sometimes these announcements are so big that one person couldn't possibly tackle it all. So, like, we'll dish it out to people at the company, like who we trust, who be like, just under embargo, write this up, and that's fine. That's not. I don't believe that's frowned upon. Like, I think there's an understanding between the PR companies and the publications that they deal with.
That said, like I said, I'm the one that signs the NDA. It still comes back to me, so I better, it's who I trust. It's happened before. Years ago, a long time ago, we had an NDA for Xbox. Yeah, it was for Xbox, and the person had the info, and they broke the embargo by accident.
Oh, okay. I thought I did it maliciously.
No.
Why don't you like the Fold? I'm joking. The Fold's great. I've decided, I've come to the conclusion after 8 months of using this thing that Android sucks on big screens. That is the key takeaway, and which is why the Galaxy Z Fold 2 that people are so hyped about, I think, is rubbish. It's going to be rubbish. Not because of the hardware. I think the hardware is incredible. It looks great, but the software experience lets it down because Android just isn't good on tablets, which is why I appreciate Microsoft going the Duo route, which is 2 phone screens, not not one big tablet screen. That's the key difference. The apps on Duo run like normal phone apps. Apps on this thing, they run like blown up tablet apps, and it sucks. So just, I will give you a good example right now. Hang on, let me open up. Let me also turn on Do Not Disturb so I don't get notifications, because a lot of people have been talking to me recently about things. Where's Do Not Disturb? There it is. Okay, so if I open up, say, Twitter here is just Twitter on the device right now. Look at the content. You can see the content, all that stuff. You can see that there's one tweet there, and an image. Look at where the image cuts off. Look at how much text is on the screen. Now, if I open the device up, look at how much more content is on the screen. It's exactly the same amount of content. Nothing has changed. And do you know why this is? It's because Twitter has not updated its app to support tablets. So you get no benefit from a single screen. You just get the same app but bigger. No additional content. The only time I've only really... What?
That should be the selling line for it. Like, your same app, but bigger.
Yeah.
Samsung Fold.
Like, in my head, a bigger screen should mean more content on screen at once. You do not get that with a foldable screen running Android, unless the app has been updated to support that. Web browsers do it the best, and Kindle. The Kindle app's also pretty good on here. Obviously, watching video, better on the big screen, although... because of the aspect ratio, I'm pretty sure you actually get more screen real estate watching a video on the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra than you do on this thing, even using the bigger screen. So, yeah, that's why I've decided that the Duo is rubbish. Sorry, the Galaxy Fold is rubbish.
Yeah. I have one interesting aspect to think about, another thing to keep an eye on is how many other main apps start to do the dual screen spanning thing.
You mean Microsoft
I
ones
have
or just
heard,
third party?
Yeah, and I have heard that there was, Microsoft released the SDK a while ago, but there's a difference between like, here's some tools and here's the emulator, and then the device becomes real, right? And some of these companies actually get a Duo and actually see it in action. I have heard, and as expected, kind of, that the closer this device gets to release, more companies are like, all right, we'll take a look at that. I heard Twitter might be one of those too. They may be doing something.
That'd be nice, because they did nothing for the Fold.
Right. We already saw Kindle, right? I mean, Microsoft somehow got Amazon to tweak its Kindle app for the Duo, which is super interesting. And Twitter's, because of the PWA thing, I think is working well with Microsoft. I would love to see, we talked about that, how Twitter could be used on dual screens. But that's something to watch, is to see, do companies start doing that?
You guys must invite Panos once for discussion on the Duo, especially with regards to Zach's article. I assume you mean the Andromeda one. We would love to have Panos come on and talk about the history of Duo and what it went through. But I doubt Microsoft will let him, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's like letting their prize child into the lion's den,
Rarely does. They usually give Panos to like the big sort of general tech / lifestyle websites like The Verge or Fast Company in the case of the Duo. They don't give him to us, unfortunately, because they know that we know the right questions to ask. A lot of these general tech sites don't really know about the inner workings of Microsoft, so they won't ask those sneaky questions. But I'd sit down and go, right, tell me about, and then I'd say the code name for Duo too.
Yeah, Zach and I always had this problem when we would be at Build and Ignite and we would do interviews with people, because the real questions we wanted to ask, we knew they couldn't answer.
Yeah.
Like, and people get mad at us. It's like, why don't you ask about Andromeda? It's like, because I know the response. They could be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like, I was waiting for you to ask me about that top secret project that I can't talk about. But since you asked, well, here's all the info. So it gets frustrating for us because we'll hear the spiel. We'll ask some questions we know they can answer, but those harder ones, And so I think they don't want to have. Not that we would. I know how to do an interview around that. That's why I don't get bogged down in it. but they probably don't want to have Panos on air for 20 minutes of him just going, "Can't talk about that. I don't know what you mean."
Yeah.
You know, they want to talk about what's in front of them right now, not down the road.
And regarding like Andromeda and the journey of Duo, I'm sure they'd be open to the idea, but the problem with talking about that is that the end of the story for the Windows part is that it failed, and that looks bad on Microsoft. So they've got to be careful about what they talk about. I'm sure Panos would love to talk about the ups and downs of building this device because he's passionate about it, and so are we, and so is everyone listening here. But the down part, which are also just as important as the ups when it comes to developing hardware, it's the bits where it wasn't working and there was frustration here and problems there that they don't want to talk about. But unfortunately, that's a key part of the story for Duo because, of course, for the first 3 to 4 years of its development, it was indeed a Windows product, and that failed. So can they talk about the Duo's development history without mentioning the Windows side? They can pretend to and be like, yeah, we worked on this in 2015, but it really started to come to light in 2019. But we all know that there was this whole part where they were trying really hard to push this new version of Windows. They were trying these new UX ideas. There was a lot of disagreements internally. There was a lot of politics around, should we do this? Shouldn't we do this? There's a lot of negative to the story, and they probably won't want to talk about that.
I wish they went with metal exterior on Duo, like Andromeda. Yeah, I think they didn't go with metal. We talked about that last week because of the heat transfer might be an issue because it's so thin. Metal can get hot. It also scratches, right? So it's more prone to scratches or dents. Not that glass is impenetrable, obviously, it can shatter. But I think glass feels magnificent. Well, like I said, go to Best Buy, try to hold the device. It feels absolutely amazing. And that's what all the unboxers and reviewers have said. It's just like, wow. And you get that because of the glass. I thought it was a good decision. So, and if this glass scratches, you're not going to see it because it's white. It's actually a very smart decision. So,
someone was asking me, did I leak any Duo 2 information yet? No, not really. I only mentioned that I'm hearing the bezels might be slightly thinner. But yeah, I've still not really shared too much.
Someone's asking about the video review, how I'm going to do that.
How I
do it after.
I'm asking the same question.
I'm not looking forward to it because I got to shoot it myself, and that's
and also you need to get a better tripod.
Yeah, not looking forward to it.
And also turn off autofocus because it's terrible.
I know. Yeah, it's a challenge.
Well, we should actually have a call about that. Like, we should plan something together because I can probably help you out. If I even jump on a call as you're there shooting stuff, I can be like your remote videographer.
Right. Yeah, I got to turn the vividness down too. That was too high. So.
Any more info from Microsoft about using Game Pass on the Duo? No, unfortunately not. It's not there at launch. I've always speculated that that's only because xCloud itself doesn't support touch controls yet on any device. I assume when they start rolling that out, whenever that is, that's when we'll see Duo pick up support for it. Are we all waiting to get news on the sticker winners? So I don't think we'll be announcing the winners this week. I think it. When will we? I guess September 10th, all right?
Sorry, what was the question?
When will we announce the winners of the stickers? September 10th?
I might do it sooner. I might do it in waves. I might do this. I might pick everybody who sent me something today, tomorrow, or something like that. Just email them.
You will receive an email if you win. I guess you are allowed to talk about other bloggers, journalists who got the Duo. What's their overall impression? I've listened to a few people so far. They've all the hardware is amazing. Seems to be the general consensus. Like, the hardware is unlike anything else. It's so premium. It's built to perfection. And of course, none of them have spoken about the software, so can't really talk about that. Are duo specific wallpapers already available online? You can find dual screen ones. If you go to wallpaperhub.app, I think they've got some on there already. I don't think they were like specifically designed to sort of show off the dual screen aspect of it. But there are wallpapers that span across both that look nice. What happened with Windows 10 Next? Nothing. It's still in development. It's coming next year. I think that's enough for today. We've been going for a while. And yeah, I'm done. All right, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We'll be back next Friday as always. Follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you updated on when we go live. But until then, we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.